and I asked the question, what does life outside of the comfort zone look like to you?
You did, but before we start, I think it's probably worth giving a bit of context to that. So we've recorded about 10 minutes worth of footage, and Jack wasn't being picked up, was he? So my heart sank. We had some good footage, and now we're having to redo it.
So what's happening here, ladies and gentlemen, is Dave is clinging on to something that no longer exists. It's been and it's gone.
Oh, I just thought I'd make for a funny discussion.
And if he lets go of it, he'll be fine, and we'll move. But what tends, sometimes what happens in life, and this is echoed, right? So here we take a positive from a negative. This is echoed throughout your daily life, and it happens in little situations, and it can happen in bigger situations. Is that something happens to us, and mentally we hold on to it, which can then barrel roll and ruin a whole day. It can be things such as arguments, getting in some kind of road traffic incident. I like to use that as an example, actually, the road traffic incident. So let's say, for example, you're coming up to a roundabout and somebody cuts you off. Now, they've cut you off. Yeah, that's irritating. But there's kind of two plays on that. Yes, they've cut you off. If you've got good self-control, you can accept that thing has just happened. They have cut you off. It could have been a dangerous situation, but it wasn't. So you could just let them keep going, just cross the roundabout. It's cool. It's happened. Nothing dangerous happened. It's fine. Just keep going about your day. The other scenario, which I'd say is probably more common, and this isn't to say I haven't done this. I'm not saying I don't do this or haven't done it before, but you get cut up. It makes you jump. It scares you. It could have been something dangerous. So you're like, beep, you're on the horn. You're potentially effing and blinding at the person, giving them some shit. Think about how that can escalate into a situation. Let's say if the other person starts effing and blinding back at you, let's say worst case scenario, the other person gets out of the car, you have an altercation. Again, very worst case scenario, you get into some kind of physical altercation with someone. Where can that barrel roll to from there? Potentially, again, worst case, prison. Depending on how bad the altercation was, you could end up going to prison, or you could end up something bad happening to you. Whereas if you'd have just, accepted that, yeah, they cut you up, but you're okay, none of that would exist. You'd have carried on with your day.
This is definitely something I resonate with quite a lot. I think everyone does, but I remember when I first started to actually put this into practice, maybe a year or two ago, where you're catching yourself in the moment, and I didn't catch myself just then. I didn't just talk myself down from it in that moment. That I didn't, and I think that comes from a place of just being so self-critical, and it's something that when you pick up on, you notice it a lot more in other people. I find, notice how people just don't regulate their emotions. We're all guilty of it, but most people just really will let their environment absolutely plague their emotional state and how they think and feel, without even challenging it. In
turn, they end up plaguing their whole existence because they're just not happy. They're not happy with where they're at, but they're also creating it. They're feeding it. They're feeding the fire, and they're not, not even realizing that it's happening. We're all completely guilty of doing that at some point in our life. And I would, to be empathetic towards individuals, it can be very difficult to have that awareness and check in with yourself when you are potentially adding to the fire.
It's very easy to take, obviously, how your day's been and project it onto other people. I think that's one of the biggest ones people do, is how they sort of allow their days to affect their interactions with, honestly, their closest loved ones.
Yeah.
It's a huge one.
I've been guilty of that. I know that my parents have been. I think we're all.
Everyone's guilty of it.
Everyone's been guilty of that.
Absolutely.
There's an interesting link there of the people that are closest to you. The ones that will potentially get the backdraft of your bad day.
Yeah.
Not that means it's acceptable.
No.
Because what's the extreme of that? That can be turned into
violence,
domestic abusive relationships. And you see that happen where someone is just the brunt of, at the extreme end of it, like, this is your fault kind of thing. Something completely unrelated to this poor innocent person has happened, but then it's like, this is your fault. Why? Because I've just decided it. I need to take out all of my frustrations on you right now to make me feel better about myself.
Because my anger needs a target and you're here.
Yeah, and I have a lack of acceptance to be able to admit that it's on me.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put it on you instead.
I think it's imagine a world in which everyone actually has introspection and looks at themselves within every situation they carry themselves in. Imagine a world where everyone takes a moment to think, hang on, could I approach this in a different light, in a different way? Do we really need to continuously escalate non-issues? Essentially, as far as I'm concerned, a lot of people's modern stresses and a lot of the modern age, it's basically caused just stressing over nothing almost. You know what I mean? Like we bounce it off each other. The amount of extra stress that is just in the universe because we don't.
I honestly feel like
pinball off each other.
Yeah, I honestly feel like that, and that stress has been harnessed and created as a business model in some cases. So let's take Facebook for example. Here's a funny thing, because I am not and this would be a good little clip, to be honest, is I'm not a social media kind of guy in terms of Facebook. Like, I'll use it because of business purposes, but what I've noticed since being back on Facebook is that you'll have a post, for example. What I've noticed in terms of talking about creating stress for people on purpose in terms of like almost a business model in relation to getting them more clicks and more comments is, so I'm a bit of a movie geek, as you know, and what some of these movie Facebook pages will do is they will post something from a movie, like giving it recognition, let's say a classic movie. But then in the pictures, they will add something on purpose. And this is, a lot of people won't realize this. They'll add something on purpose that isn't actually part of that movie. So I'm gonna give you an example so you can know exactly what I'm on about. So with the Alien, this is one I saw today. With the Aliens movies, they did a post talking about the second Alien film, and all of the pictures were of the second Alien film, except for one, which was of an Alien film that is generally not liked by the fan group of aliens.
Rage bait.
So this, yes,
they're just trying to bait people in. Yeah, makes sense.
Clearly, clearly, a lot of people don't realize this. Yeah. I've realized it very quickly what they're doing, and it's smart. I give them credit for it, man. It's really smart. So they do that, and then somebody goes, like somebody that loves the second Aliens film, like someone like me, so like a dumbass like me comes along. I love Aliens, man. Yeah, 1986 Aliens is the best movie ever, dude. And I see that post, and I'm like, yeah, they're talking about Aliens. And then I see that there's a picture of an alien from one of the other movies that I absolutely hated. So instantly I'm like, click, comment, that photo's not from that movie. But what they've done then is, well done, mate. You've fallen for their trap. They've gotten you to engage on a post, and keep the conversation going. And you'll see the comments, they're flooded with people that are, you know, having their input, and a lot of them are getting annoyed at the specific thing that I've just mentioned. But again, that drives up the engagement of the post, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely does,
so you can see now, relating back to what we were talking about, how they would take that formula and use it across whatever it is on Facebook to generate more clicks and likes. You see it in the short clips as well. When you hover over the short clips on Facebook, it shows you almost a split second. And at the moment, I've got a lot of shark stuff on there, because if I see something about a shark, I'll click it, because I'm fascinated by sharks. I always have been since I was very young. So the first part of the clip, this split second it shows you before you actually click on the full thing, will make it look, for example, like it's about to bite a person. So then you're like, whoa, what's going on here? Am I going to see someone's fucking leg get bit off? And you click on it, because it's like almost like morbid curiosity, right?
Yeah.
So they completely play on human behavior.
Yeah, it's psychology. It's pure psychology.
Yeah.
And
it's smart. It is. It's a smart business tactic, but I mean,
it holds true for most short form content. The dopamine hits you get from just short form content in general. It's all
look
rigged
at what
in
I was
that
looking
direction.
at. Yeah, look at what I was looking at the other day when we were looking at ways to make the videos appealing for people to click on them, and the short side of things was like, say this or say that, and it was saying that within the first few seconds of the clip is when somebody's either going to click on it and watch it or keep scrolling. So you got to say things that are going to pique their interest. Try these 3 tricks to make your penis bigger. And what's this? What are the tips?
Nice, Jack. We're not even 3 videos in and we're already demonetized. Well done. Great. Well,
it's just an example.
No, for real. Yeah. So today's actual topic was going to be on. So that was obviously just a brief introduction in regards to obviously me not recording and stress. But today we're actually going to be talking about the comfort zone and living outside of it and what that kind of means to us, I guess. Jack, what does the comfort zone mean to you? What does escaping it mean to you? What does that look like?
Escaping the comfort zone to me, what does it look like?
What does it provide you, I guess, would be a better question. What does getting outside of the comfort zone look like?
Getting outside of the comfort zone, I would say, looks like, or I don't even know if that's the way I'd phrase it.
What does it provide your life? Like how it is hard to phrase, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is quite hard to phrase. But
what can it provide you with to step out of your comfort zone? What can it bring to your life?
What does that bring to your life? Yeah.
What does it look like for a lot of people is I guess it would be scary for a lot of people stepping out of your comfort zone, because it's kind of stepping into the unknown. What can it do for you other than create discomfort? Is it can create growth, right? There's not, I don't want to say there's not a lot to be found within your comfort zone, but I feel like there's a much more opportunity to grow when you step out of your comfort zone. And the thing is, it doesn't have to be anything really extravagant and crazy. And I think that's probably what I would want to draw attention onto here, actually, while we're on the topic, is that it doesn't necessarily look like doing something extreme. It can be just making small little steps outside of it at a time. I don't know, let's say that you're not a socially active person, but you would like to get out more and do more social things. Well, it doesn't instantly need to look like you going out on a night out or a full day out. It could be just you nipping out to the shop. If you struggle, if you're somebody that stays in your house for a majority of the day, or if not, some people will literally not leave their house. You don't need to leave your house anymore, do you?
Nope.
For a lot of people, they won't need to leave their house. If you think about it, they could work from home. They can get all of their shopping delivered. They can get, well, the clothes and everything can be done at home. Anything can be ordered online. So
it's a dystopian
let's take that
nightmare,
kind of,
isn't it?
yeah. Let's take that kind of example. Somebody that's in all the time. It could look like just going and sitting outside your house for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
That could be a starting point of stepping out of your comfort zone. And the interesting thing about that is you can build on that over time, so that what once, and you did this, interestingly enough, that you're a prime example of this. And I'm sure you won't mind me saying that when you first started the journey that you're on, your walks were like 5 minutes out of the house, weren't they?
Would literally, I guess so. If I could just interject there, so the comfort zone was definitely something that I had to understand and get familiar with, and understand where my boundaries were. It's definitely something you will have to face a lot in things like exposure therapy, which I was doing quite a lot of. And it very much did start with just going around the block. Where I live, I can literally walk out the house. I can go around without having to cross the road, and I can come back straight back into my house. Right? So it's just like a field track almost. I can just go around and come back in. And I would do that. And I would do that every day for a month. And then I was like, okay, well, this is getting boring now, actually. And that was the thing. That became comfortable. That was the thing. It got boring because it was comfortable for me then. And that was awesome. That was when I knew I was making progress. And it's worth also probably mentioning this as well. Like, there were times in my life where I could go anywhere, but life happens, and there were certain things that made me agoraphobic, made me want to stay indoors, and I did. And then my comfort zone shrunk, and what I became familiar with also shrunk. And I worked very hard with yourself, actually. You were a massive component to that. We talked a lot during that time, because I would send you voice notes as I would walk, and I expanded my walk every single time. And
now, compared to where you started, where you're at now, you did a 20-something mile bike ride the other day?
Well, I've done it a couple of times now, actually. I will ride where I live. It's a peninsula, and I will ride my bike up a trail that is, it's beautiful, and it takes you all the way to the top of the peninsula, and it's about 25 miles, and it's excellent. It's about 2.5-3 hours. And I can do that, and then I'll get the train back. And the train was also something that I lost touch with, because as I say, I had a panic attack on the train one day. Boom. Now I don't want to ever go on a train again. And I didn't for over 6 years. So
now Thomas the Tank Engine is not my friend.
Oh, mate, the amount of Thomas the Tank Engine stuff I still have just from my childhood, just sitting in the loft. My God.
I guess the takeaway from that for people watching, for anyone watching that's struggling, stepping out of their comfort zone, but that actively would like to step out of their comfort zone and make changes, would be take it real, compress it right down, really simplify it. Don't make it this big event that you're going to do. Don't go from
I will add one more point to this, and I think it's something that actually a lot of people don't mention. Gamify it. Yeah. Make it a game. Like, I don't know if that just holds true for me, but it's not actually that serious. Like, there's no pressure to reach certain goals. Just gamify it. See what progress you can make. It could be a couple of steps. It could just be looking out opening the front door. It's something I've talked about and tried to. I'm not qualified, but I definitely have had friends in similar situations, and I've used my experience in order to guide them. It can start so small, man. It can start at the bedroom. It can start with just brushing your teeth, getting that shower, just basic hygiene. It all starts with something, and there's always somewhere you can start. There's always something new you can do today, no matter how small it is.
Yeah, and you're before you know it, you're laying down a positive foundation for potentially the rest of your life that works for you as an individual.
Yeah.
That even when, and then what happens is kind of the positive of that is then when you're having other things that come into your life that you're finding difficult, because you've got that baseline routine that you know works for you and is healthy, it kind of it alleviates the other stresses that are going to come your way.
Absolutely.
And makes things more manageable.
I think that's why a lot of people are suffering these days. It's why is because then they're not finding ways, manageable ways to push that bubble, to push that comfort zone, that boundary.
I think that's because we're not given the tools
Absolutely
to. I think
no.
that's why anxiety is so, or part of the reason why anxiety is so widespread within our society at the moment is because you're taught, you know, all of these different subjects at school. Physical education is lacking massively. There's a lot of most of it is all inward thinking. There's not a lot of kind of problem solving other than your kind of English, math, science kind of problem solving. There's not a lot of real life practical problem solving that goes on. And that creates somebody that is potentially well educated in a lot of ways, but lacks the other attributes needed when you go out into the big wide world, which is, it's a very strange confliction.
I think, and I'm sure many people out there will agree with me, I don't think academia is even there for helping you get into the world. It should, don't get me wrong. I think that there definitely should be components of mandatory education that should absolutely be facilitating growth for you to go out into the world and embrace it and be able to manage in the world, right? But it doesn't do that. In fact, one of the things that people talk about the most, I think, is taxes, is the idea of managing money, and how we're just never taught this in school. We're never taught practical skills to actually, we're not taught about mortgages. We're not taught about, I mean, I guess there's A-level economics and stuff like that, but I guess that's still within an academic arena. It's not in a practical sense. You're not taught about the housing market, all these different things that you're going to have to learn when you get out there.
100%. And me and my partner were talking about this just the other day, along the lines of, we wish that we'd have had somebody in our lives that said, when we were kind of 18, 19 and getting into like full-time jobs, we wish that we'd have had someone say, hey, just put as much money aside as you can, don't piss it away, and invest it in a little property or something like that. Because, you know, between ages 18 to like mid-20s, a lot of people just faffing around kind of, you know, you have got your university and stuff like that, I know, but then you think of the debt that stems there. Obviously, it's a choice to go to university and that's an option, but that's a whole nother discussion. But in terms of setting you up for life, just even putting a deposit down on a little one-bedroom means that in the future, you've at least got something that you can potentially sell off or rent out. Whereas a lot of people, myself included, are now stuck just renting, which is just dead money, just throwing money away. But at the same time, we don't have enough money to put down on a deposit for a house.
I think the game's rigged like that slightly, though, isn't it? I think without taking it too much into a political angle, I feel like it definitely is rigged that way. You know?
Yeah.
We want to keep people renting, right? Like, we don't want people doing well. If everyone does well for themselves, then, you know, that could cause the government some serious problems.
Debt is a big thing as well. Like, it's a big, you know, having cards and stuff and buying things with money that you don't actually have and then paying it off over time. It's like, that's a whole thing in itself.
Being dependent on the banks and it's it's not good.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm fortunate in the fact that I don't have any debt. I never went to uni myself. Did you ever go to uni, Jack?
No, I'm also fortunate. I don't have debt. It's a strange one. I was talking the other day to somebody, and I don't remember who it was. It was a client, and we were talking about things that kind of your elders said to you that for whatever reason just stuck with you. And my grandma, and she only really said this once, from what I remember. She said, "Never spend more than the penny that you have." And she was relating to like debt and stuff like that. Don't get in debt. And for some reason, that really stuck with me. And I really never have spent more than the penny. I've never got into debt. I've always, and I know that I'm not saying, I totally understand that some people slip into these situations, and it's kind of unavoidable in some ways for some people. But I personally have managed to not get into any debt so far at this point in my life. And I hope I don't really. I just don't like the idea of it either.
No, it is scary. I do have I have a card.
They got a hold on you then, right?
I do pay everything with everything I pay for is done on a credit card. I will,
and then you pay it off.
It's direct
I get that, because that accumulates like
credit
positive,
score
credit score.
Shit.
Yeah. See, I don't know a lot about that. I admit that I don't really know a lot about that.
Well, I think it's the idea that when you spend on a credit card, you are basically spending the bank's money.
Yeah.
You're not spending your money. So it's insured against the bank, right? So if anything happens to that card and then someone goes and, racks up 5K on it or does whatever with it, it's you haven't lost a penny from your bank, from where you're having, where your money is. So it just kind of protects you in a way as well. Obviously, it comes with a slight bit added responsibility of making sure it's paid off, but
exactly.
As long as you set up a direct debit and keep on top of it, I've been doing it for 2 years now, and I've never had a problem with it.
It's good. If it works for you, absolutely.
Yeah, little tangent there.
No, that's all right. No, I was just going to say, I feel like we've touched on some pretty interesting points, and that just kind of again wrap up and summarize that if you are somebody that's looking to create a positive change in your life, don't feel like you've got to do it all at once. Make one small little change at a time, and you'll be surprised how over time, gradually, and that's the important thing to remember, is that these things don't happen overnight, but gradually you will look back and you'll have created great change through those little steps that you've taken.
Yeah, it all starts with compassion for yourself, because the only person that can really help you through a situation like this, through expanding yourself into the comfort zone, is yourself. You need to build up that trust with yourself, that compassion, and actualize. We've in the last few episodes we've talked about some things that definitely tie into this actualizing. Just because a big part of this was outside of my comfort zone, actually. Right now, I would argue right now, Jack, actually, I'm pretty much outside of my comfort zone. The idea of I'm a streamer at heart. I like seeing chat, and I like them basically, constantly feeding me things to say. But right now, this is very much outside my comfort zone. And I'm proud of us doing this. So
the same. And I was just gonna add to that, so you don't feel alone. Because I feel sometimes you view me as this indestructible, mentally resilient being. But I've got to admit, while we're on the topic, I felt very intimidated about putting this out there, because there's something very vulnerable to knowing that you're now on the internet for anyone to see. And the other night I was kind of thinking, I really need to kind of be mindful of what I say, because I want this to have a positive impact on people. I don't want any part of this for somebody to
be interpreted
watch it and
negative,
interpret it as, anything other than that this all between me and you comes from a really positive place of just wanting to be authentic with people and show them that, I don't know, that there's hope for whatever that people are going through. There's hope, and change can happen, and that we're all about that.